Welcome, members, to another episode of From the Archives. My name is Lesley Jones, and I am the Director of Archives and Curation at the History Center. In these episodes, I will be taking you into the archives and sharing items with you that have a fascinating history behind them. Today, in conjunction with the spooky season, we will be looking at a possible mourning dress from the 19th century. Let's talk about the history of mourning in this period, the dress itself, and the possible uses for this dress. While mourning dress was worn before the 19th century, it is the period most people think of when they think of the mourning dress. Two things occurred in the mid-19th century that really put mourning into sort of a spotlight. First, the death of Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert. The Queen went into mourning for 40 years after his death, and in a way, her all-black attire became popular in Europe and North America. Second, the unfortunate rise in deaths during the Civil War. Over 620,000 people died, and statistically, there was a 1 in 4 chance of surviving as a soldier. Mourning, in a morbid but fascinating way, became fashionable and was continually advertised in fashion magazines. But what were the rules of mourning? Honestly, it varied. I remember a book I read for my thesis called The Lady's Book of Etiquette and Manual of Politeness, written in 1876 about the proper ways to mourn a loved one. But Florence Hartley, who wrote the book, had this to say about the subject. There is such a variety of opinion upon the subject of mourning that it is extremely difficult to lay down any general rules upon the subject. Some wear very close black for a long period, whilst others wear dressy mourning for a short time in a case of death in the immediate family. There is no rule either for the depth of mourning or the time it may be laid aside. Let's look at one example of the mourning period for women. Remember, there are no set rules, but this is one that was made by a book written in 1896. The woman is to wear black for 2 years for a deceased husband, 1 year for deceased parents, 1 year for deceased children, 6 months for deceased grandparents, 6 months for deceased friends if the mourner received an inheritance from the friend, 6 months for deceased siblings, 3 months for deceased aunts and uncles. There were also stages of mourning too: full mourning, first mourning, second mourning, third mourning, and half mourning. Men also had a form of mourning dress with accessories to their hats or with an armband. In our archives, we have a dress from the late 1890s. Since many women emulated Queen Victoria during this period, we can't definitively say that this is a mourning dress. However, it looks very much like a second mourning dress. The fabric is made of pongee, a silk texture with pinstripe design. The lightweight material also gives an indication that it was a dress worn in the summer months. A full mourning dress would be plain black with no accents and certainly no texture. The sleeves are guingot, basically big and puffy, with sleeves that come down to the elbow. There is knife pleating throughout the design, and my favorite, there is a scroll pattern trim around the neckline and sleeve cuffs. Because of the stitching and some of the embellishments, the woman who wore this was at least of middle class. This dress is probably my favorite within our archives because of its simplicity and elegance. Since we cannot know the specific reasons why the woman wore this dress, there's also a bit of mystery in this piece. We do not know who donated this piece, so if it was you or someone you know, please reach out. We'd love to learn more. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of From the Archives. It is because of members like you that we get the opportunity to delve into the research on these amazing objects. I'd like to thank our intern, Bryn Hungerford, for her extensive research on the dress, and our Director of Education, Marie Bartlett, for helping in identifying the dress. Please comment if you have any questions about mourning practices in the 19th century or about artifacts we have here at the History Center.